In the 8th to 11th centuries, there was a city that stood as the beating heart of an entire civilization. A city so important that it became synonymous with knowledge, innovation, culture, and power. A city that connected the East and the West in ways that shaped the world as we know it today. That city was Baghdad. A city that would rise to become a beacon of intellectual brilliance and cultural exchange. One that would forever alter the course of history. Baghdad's journey begins with the vision of a ruler determined to create a city like no other. A place that would not only symbolize the power of the Abbasid Caliphate, but also lay the foundation for one of the most influential periods in human history. Join me as we uncover the story of Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age. A city that was, for centuries, the center of the Islamic world. The birth of Baghdad, the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate, 8th century. It all began in 762 CE, when Caliph al-Mansur, the second ruler of the Abbasid dynasty, decided to build a new capital. The Abbasids had overthrown the Umayyad Caliphate, which had been based in Damascus, and now they needed a city that could reflect their new identity and vision. A city that could bring together people from different cultures. A city that could rival anything that had come before. But this wasn't just any capital. It was meant to be a symbol of power, a beacon of learning, and a center of civilization that would rival the great cities of the world. After a thorough search, Caliph al-Mansur chose a site along the Tigris River in modern-day Iraq, a location strategically positioned at the crossroads of trade routes connecting Persia, Arabia, and the Byzantine Empire. And so, Baghdad was born, designed to be a city unlike any other. The Round City, as it was originally known, was a marvel of engineering. Its streets radiated from a central point like the spokes of a wheel, with the great mosque at the heart of the city. Around it stood palaces, administrative buildings, markets, and universities, each a testament to the power and vision of the Abbasid Caliphate. Baghdad wasn't just the capital of a kingdom. It was designed to be the heart of an empire, drawing scholars, merchants, diplomats, and artisans from across the known world. Within just a few years, it would become one of the largest and most prosperous cities of the medieval world. The golden age of knowledge, Baghdad as the intellectual capital, 9th century. By the 9th century, Baghdad had transformed from a newly built city to the intellectual and cultural center of the Islamic world. Under the leadership of successive Abbasid caliphs like Al-Ma'mun, the city experienced a renaissance of learning, discovery, and creativity that would forever shape global history. The House of Wisdom became the epicenter of this intellectual revolution. Founded by Caliph al-Ma'mun in the early 9th century, the Beit al-Hikmah wasn't just a library. It was a research center, a hub where scholars from around the world could come together to translate and study ancient Greek, Persian, and Indian texts. These translations laid the groundwork for much of what we consider modern science. And the scholars of Baghdad didn't stop there. They took these texts and built upon them. The translation movement wasn't merely about preserving knowledge. It was about expanding knowledge, and this was the hallmark of the intellectual culture in Baghdad. Let's take the example of Al-Khwarizmi, the brilliant mathematician whose work in algebra and astronomy became foundational in both the Islamic world and Europe. His book, Al-Kitab al-Muqtasar fi Hizb al-Jabr wal-Muqabala, the compendious book on calculation by completion and balancing, introduced algebra to the world. The term algebra itself comes from the word al-Jabr, which he coined. This is just one example of how Baghdad became the birthplace of ideas that would shape centuries of knowledge in the Western world. Figures like Ibn Sina, Avicenna, the towering philosopher and physician, wrote works that would be studied in Europe for centuries. Meanwhile, Al-Razi, an expert in chemistry and medicine, made pioneering contributions in medical science, writing books that were later used in European medical schools. But it wasn't just about science and philosophy. Baghdad's cultural contributions were equally remarkable. Poetry, music, and the arts flourished in the city. Scholars and poets like Al-Mutanabbi made Baghdad a hub for literary culture. Artisans worked in silk, glass, and ceramics, and the city's marketplaces became a melting pot of creativity and exchange. The pulse of trade and culture life in Baghdad's markets, 10th century. But life in Baghdad wasn't just about intellectual pursuits. It was also about commerce and cultural exchange. By the 10th century, Baghdad had become one of the wealthiest and most cosmopolitan cities in the world. The city's markets were renowned for their vibrancy, attracting traders from across Africa, India, Central Asia, and even Europe. In these bustling marketplaces, you could find a wide array of goods: spices, textiles, precious metals, and even paper, which at the time had been brought to Baghdad from China. The introduction of paper revolutionized communication, allowing for the creation of books, letters, and manuscripts in unprecedented numbers. The wealth of Baghdad allowed its people to indulge in the finer things in life. The elite lived in lavish homes, surrounded by gardens, fountains, and courtyards. Meanwhile, the common people, merchants, artisans, and laborers, played their own important role in the city's vibrant culture, contributing to its artistic, literary, and intellectual atmosphere. But Baghdad's success wasn't just about wealth. It was also about the exchange of ideas. The city became a place where people from different cultures, religions, and backgrounds could meet and share their perspectives. Muslims, Jews, Christians, and others coexisted, and their diverse traditions enriched the cultural fabric of Baghdad. Decline and resilience, the challenges of the 10th and 11th centuries. By the 10th century, however, Baghdad's political and economic dominance began to erode. The once mighty Abbasid Caliphate was facing increasing challenges. The Ubayyid dynasty, a Shiite Persian family, took control of Baghdad in the 10th century, undermining the power of the Abbasid caliphs. Despite their diminished political power, the Abbasids continued to hold religious authority over the Islamic world. Then, in the 11th century, the Seljuk Turks rose to prominence and took control of the city, marking the end of the Abbasids' influence over Baghdad's day-to-day governance. Although Baghdad still remained an intellectual center, it was no longer the dominant power it once had been. Even as political power waned, Baghdad's cultural significance continued to endure. Scholars and scientists like Ibn al-Haytham and al-Biruni were still making groundbreaking discoveries. Ibn al-Haytham, for instance, made huge contributions to the field of optics, laying the foundation for the scientific study of light. Meanwhile, al-Biruni's pioneering work in astronomy and geography would influence future generations of scholars. The final fall, the Mongol invasion, 1258 CE. The final blow came in 1258, when the Mongols, led by Hulagu Khan, besieged the city. After a brutal siege, the Mongols stormed Baghdad, destroyed its infrastructure, burned its libraries, and killed many of its inhabitants. This tragic event marked the end of the Abbasid Caliphate and the fall of Baghdad as the heart of the Islamic world. The House of Wisdom, the intellectual center that had once been the pride of the Islamic world, was completely destroyed. Countless manuscripts were lost forever, and with them, much of the knowledge that Baghdad had so painstakingly accumulated over the centuries. Baghdad's lasting legacy. Though the political power of Baghdad faded, its legacy never disappeared. The scientific discoveries, philosophical advancements, and cultural achievements that flourished during its golden age laid the foundations for much of the world we live in today. Many of the great ideas from Al-Khwarizmi, Ibn Sina, and Al-Razi would go on to shape the Renaissance in Europe, revolutionizing art, science, and medicine. Baghdad may no longer be the center of the Islamic world, but its spirit, its contributions to knowledge, culture, and innovation continue to resonate across time and geography. The city may have fallen, but its impact will never be forgotten. Baghdad's legacy is one of learning, diversity, and progress. And though it has changed over the centuries, the world still feels the echoes of its once glorious past. It remains a testament to what can be achieved when cultures come together in pursuit of knowledge, peace, and prosperity. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos on the fascinating civilizations that have shaped our world.